Linda Grassi.
Here.
Scott Fishel.
Here.
Tom Heck.
Here.
Jennifer Hart.
Here. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
On behalf of the board, I'd like to welcome all students, staff, parents, and interested community members to tonight's Board of Education meeting. I'd like to remind everyone that this is a meeting of the Board of Education held in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business. It is not to be considered a public community meeting. There is time for public comment during the meeting in the public participation section on the agenda. Make a motion to approve the July 27, 2023 board minutes.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hack. Any discussion? Okay, Mr. Plettel, can you call the roll?
Scott Fishel.
Aye.
Tom Heck.
Aye.
Jennifer Hart.
Aye.
Lori Kniske.
Aye.
Linda Grassi.
Aye. Motion carried. That brings us to special reports.
I do. I asked Mr. Carabine to present the results from a communication survey we gave in June as part of the strategic plan. So turn it over to him.
All right, so let me just, it's always awkward when I have to present and film at the same time. So let me just lock in there. I'm guessing this is why everyone's here, because they want to hear the results of the communication survey.
But of course.
So part of our district strategic plan, we are seeking parent and community input to ensure our communication efforts are meeting the needs of all our stakeholders. So we sent out a survey to parents and community members to measure how we are doing and how we can improve in the future. The survey was open from June 7th through June 16th. We emailed it to all parents in the district on the 7th, the 12th, and the 15th. The survey was also posted on our social media pages, Facebook and Twitter, those same days. And the survey was also set up as an alert pop-up on our website, so anyone who came to our website between June 7th and June 16th would have gotten that pop-up and would have had to X out of it or go straight to the survey. We had 774 responses. Here you can see, I'm not going to go through it all, but about half was the campus, a small percentage from each elementary school, middle school, and only about 4% were non-parents. The majority, the age range was 35 to 55 years old. So how we set this up is we asked questions from the district level standpoint, from the building level standpoint, and from a teacher level standpoint. So these first couple slides are going to be from the district level. Just kind of how people would rate our communication with parents and community members. This is good, 82.7% said good or excellent. 13 was fair, and 3.5 was poor. People were asked if they felt informed about news and events related to our school district. 84.5% agreed/strongly agreed. Only 4.1% disagreed. Here you'll see where do people presently get most of their information about our district. The top 5 was district newsletters and emails, Facebook, our website, word of mouth, and the community pipeline newsletter, which is mailed to all addresses in the district a few times a year. We asked when visiting the district website, what information are you most frequently seeking? The top 5 answers were calendar event dates, Infinite Campus, staff contact information, athletic information, and specific building information. As many people have been on our website, there's a different page for all of our buildings. There you'll also see some other options that were on there as well. We asked people how often they see posts on our Facebook page. This is kind of all over the place. 33% was once a week, 16% once a month, 16% not on Facebook, 15% every day, 12% I am not on Facebook but don't see your posts, and 8% was not a lot. I think the district Facebook posts are informative. 57.4% agreed or strongly agreed. Only 1.3 disagreed or strongly disagreed. Again, you see the people who aren't on Facebook or were neutral. I still call it Twitter. I don't know if it's called X now or what's going on with that. In the past couple months, a lot has changed. This is not surprising to me. Our Twitter engagement, I can tell over the years, is not as strong as it used to be. That said, I actually brought some numbers here. I want to make sure I got it right. Even though it says 63% are not on Twitter, we still have 3,700 followers on our Twitter page, and I just went back to go check some stats. It's called tweet impressions. It's basically how many people see a tweet per month. January at 122,000, February 146,000, March 104,000, April 85,000, May 128,000, June 93,000, July 36,000. That's not 36,000 people. It's how many times your tweet was seen. And so far in August, 31,000. So even though it says 63% from the survey on Twitter, we still clearly have a following there, and people are seeing our information. One thing I've noticed, even though engagement is not as strong as it used to be, like anytime we post like big news or breaking news, or obviously a snow day, it spreads like wildfire, or when we make a big hiring, it's still a large splash. Videos from the district YouTube channel. This is a little deceiving because when we post links from our YouTube channel, we don't really necessarily say, hey, this is our YouTube channel. It's just a link to a video. So some people may watch the videos and not know it's, they may be watching the video but not knowing it's an actual YouTube channel. But 65% said never at all. 23% said a few times a year. 9% once a month. 2% once a week. 0.3% every day. I don't know who those people are.
Groupies, Riverside groupies.
This is if people find our district monthly Riverside Reality e-newsletter informative. 75% strongly agree, 18% neutral, 4.5% disagree. We just sent one out today. If anyone got a chance to read it. Community pipeline. 65% agree that it is informative, 20% neutral, 12% said they don't know what it is, and 3.6% disagree. Quality profile, which is essentially our annual report, goes along with our state report card. The quality profile contains a lot more in-depth things that you won't find. The state report card is all numbers and data. Quality profile is more about student highlights, staff leadership, finances, academics, arts. Basically, if someone were moving into the district and had no idea about anything from Riverside local school district, the first thing I would hand them is a quality profile. 47% found that informative, 26% neutral, 24% not sure what it is. We do mail this to every address in the district. And 3.5% disagree. So that was from the district level. This was more questions pertaining to our building principals. I feel my child's building principal does a good job of communicating with parents. 72.6% agreed or strongly agreed. Only 8.6% disagreed or strongly disagreed. 5% said they're not a parent. How satisfied are you with the frequency of communication? 75.2%. School communicates just about right. 13% I do not receive enough communication. And then this is from the teacher level. I feel my teacher does a good job of communicating with me. 55.2% agree or strongly agree. 20% were neutral. 18% disagree. How satisfied are you with the frequency of communication from your child's teacher? This is probably the biggest, worrisome answer that out of all these, it's 34%. So a third do not feel that they receive enough communication from their teacher. That said, 58% say teachers communicate the right amount. I prefer to receive information from my child's teacher via newsletter or email, personal conversations, the Remind app, which a lot of our teachers use, Infinite Campus, and paper newsletters. At the elementary level, many of you who are parents know that a lot of elementary teachers, they'll send home a paper newsletter once a week. As you get older, that might be more of it in emails and just direct messages. So for the most part, I'm pretty satisfied with those results. A lot of the results were like poor or negative or super low. A lot of the good things were 70-80% range. I think we've come a long way in the last 5-10 years in being transparent and communicating more and making sure everyone's informed about what's going on here. So next step, some things I didn't include in these slides. We did have a lot of like text box answers. I think overall there was over 800 comments. So we're tracking those comments and trends. I did put together like a top 5 for each of those answers. I sent those all to the principals in the district along with these survey results. So hopefully that will kind of tailor how they communicate going forward, and also talking to their staffs, their teachers about how they communicate going forward. Another part of our strategic plan is kind of creating a shared guidelines and expectations of communications. So next week I'll be sending out to all staff. You guys will see it, so I'm just going to send to all Riverside. It's a communications document that basically lays out expectations and guidelines. How often parents want to be communicated to, ways to better communicate to parents more frequently, making sure people know what's going on in the classroom. Revisions where necessary. We do have a communication plan that we update every now and then. There's a lot of comments on like the website that we've already made changes about the calendar events. I made sure I put the first thing you see when you go on our website now is the calendar. Revisions with social media as well. And then I plan to do this every summer. So it'll be an annual thing, and we'll adjust accordingly as the years goes on. And that concludes my report. Anyone questions or anything?
Do we have emails for the majority of our families? Or are there families that?
Our emailing system syncs with our student information system. So long as their information is in campus, which it should be, because when they register, they have to put all that information in there. Then yeah.
But so we know if there's parents without emails, I guess. I'm just wondering if
There
there's families.
could be some without emails, there could also be some with old emails.
Okay.
Who may have changed email address.
Which is why we push out, so we don't do paper forms anymore.
Right.
So 3 or 4 years ago, we do the required online forms through our Infinite Campus, and we continuously send emails to parents, and we ask the building principals on the first day of school to like, hey, we don't send out 800 paper forms anymore, but here's a step-by-step direction on how to go online and do the required online forms. And if parents aren't web savvy or do struggle with email, we ask them to come in.
Okay.
And now Cynthia Mahoney would work with them on getting them all set up.
Okay. That's what I was more curious about. If there were people we could be missing because they don't have.
And like more serious things, like we still do text messages and phone calls, like, snow days or power outages, or we don't call them when we release a newsletter, but if it's something urgent or serious, we do phone calls still.
I feel like that email field in the online required form said it's updated by the end of the day. I don't even think I can pass that page without.
It is
It has
required.
required.
It's a required.
Yeah, but you could fat finger it if you're doing something like the phone or something like that. It could be wrong.
Right. But
So
I don't
that's-
think you can actually get past
Right.
that
It is required.
stage of the form.
And for the
so.
people who don't submit their required online forms, we're able to pull those reports, and then we just continuously remind them that they haven't filled out the required online forms. So,
Ultimately, they can't go on field trip.
yeah. Well, they can't go on field trips because it has their medical, like, if there's a medical emergency and they haven't updated that yet, just in the past, whether it was a paper form or online. So.
Do we have standardized formats for principal and teacher communications that go out?
That's something that we're working on. We're working on some branding campaigns, like a standardized email signature. You'll start to see some of that, that'll kind of universal. A little bit of tweaks here and there, but some kind of standard, so you know that it's legitimate email that comes from a Riverside source. One of the issues we run into is with some of our communications tools, they don't necessarily have the ability to standardize. I think they updated it recently, but we haven't gotten into that training yet with them as how to do it. But that is something we're pushing for, to have some of this kind of common, so you know that if it comes through, it's not a spam and it is an email from Riverside because it has the same look and feel.
We also try to limit how many like apps they use, because like years ago, they were all over the place. There's Seesaw, Homeroom. So we really try to limit it to either Reminder, Google Classroom, email, phone call, IC. So it's kind of more, not if you have 3 kids in the district and this teacher's on this app and this teacher's on one. So we do try to limit that so it's not an annoyance to parents.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
Much appreciated.
I'll be back here if you guys need.
We know where to find you.
Anything else for special reports?
That's it for now.
That's it.
No, you're good.
All right, that brings us to old business. We didn't have anything submitted for old business. All right, and that then brings us to new business. So I did send something through yesterday about new business. I recently was able to watch an interview. Mr. Fischel, I saw that you said that you were working on policy in that video and that you were going to hold it, it'll be ready to go. I guess I just wanted to bring it to the table what policies you're looking at and what you're looking to change, because that should be a discussion that has to go at the board table.
Well, thank you, Ms. Krasinski, for being more interested in my ideas to make the Riverside local school district better. I appreciate that. That being said, any personal statements or comments outside of this board are not appropriate to be discussed in a public board meeting inside of this board. So if you're interested, certainly I can meet with you outside of the board and we can discuss my ideas.
Well, but it's board business. Writing
It
policy
is not
is a
board,
direct
it is not
business.
board business.
It is. It's the direct business of the board to write policy.
I'm
So
not
if there's
gonna-
policy that you think there's problems with, it would be to the best interest of the district, bring it to the table.
So you're mistaken, and it's certainly not board business, and it's statements outside of this board. And if you're interested, I'm happy to meet with you and we can discuss
But
my
we cannot
ideas.
talk about board policy outside of the table. We should be talking about it as an entire group.
Well, the problem is you're always a board member, whether you're at the board table or you're in the community, and that's kind of the discussion we've had over and over again, is that no matter where you have a discussion about the school board, you are a school board member no matter where you do it. So if you do it in a video, if you do it to a neighbor, to anyone, you're always a board member, regardless of where you have that conversation. So it's a legitimate question.
So
Yeah, and so I would certainly refer you to the Ohio Revised Code. We as board members are all elected officials, and we all follow Ohio law.
Yeah.
And what you're stating is not Ohio law.
Okay.
So
Well-
can I just ask a question? If you have ideas or things that you are considering that you would like the district to change, why are they not being brought to the board table? I'm just curious, like, if,
So
That's where we
I'm
would
just-
talk about that kind of
I'm
stuff.
going to jump in. I'm not privy to what's going on, but certainly as board members, we have the, buildings and grounds. We think about what could possibly be our solution to the facilities going forward. I mean, but that's done outside of the boardroom. It's done
At the committee.
but it's not done outside the committee because we think about it, right? We ruminate on it, right? And if Mr. Fisher wants to ruminate on policy, and I mean, I have no idea, this is the first I'm aware of this. If he wants to ruminate on policy and eventually make his way into the official channels, that's his prerogative, it's all of our prerogatives. I'm not sure, until the board member wants to make it in an official presentation, I don't know that that's any of our business.
But I guess what I don't understand is why we wouldn't bring it to the table to talk if we think there's improvements needed. Why would we not start having those discussions?
Because maybe it's not fully baked yet. I mean, I don't know.
Well, it's very well said, and the idea that anything that you talk about the Riverside Local School District outside of the board meetings is subject to being a board member per se, is just an inaccurate statement. We all have personal thoughts and ideas, and we are free to discuss those at any time we want, unless in this country, free speech is no longer the case.
And
We
I
absolutely are, but that's, I mean, our district attorney has sat here at meetings for the last 10 years. I've been here reminding us all that when we speak in public, that it's always coming from the mouth of a board member. It's always the way it's perceived, and so it maybe, it's just about the perception that's out
I
there.
mean, I would guess when assuming Mr. Fisher moves forward with whatever he's thinking, that there will be a future meeting where there is going to be a new agenda item, a new business item that talks about policy. I mean, and then we'll all know. But until then, it's his prerogative. It's all of our individual prerogatives to do and think as we want, and then when it's time to make it official, we can't daisy chain, right? But one board member can talk to another, but we can't bring in a third. Again, I'm not privy to whatever Mr. Official is thinking, but he has a right, and maybe even a right and a duty to be thinking about how he would like to move the district forward more effectively, whatever that is, policy or buildings and grounds or whatever. So, we can all be curious, but I suspect that when it's time to bring this forward, that we will all know what the thoughts are.
And just so everyone here knows and anyone watching understands, a board member is permitted to talk with another board member about any topic at any time. What a board member is not permitted to do is then add a third board member into that conversation. And that's what Mr. Hack was mentioning by daisy chaining. Can't talk with one person, then another, then another, then another, and come back and talk with this person and say, I've only been talking with one person. So you're allowed to have discussions between board members, anytime between board meetings that you would like.
Between two board members.
Right, two board members between meetings anytime that you would like. And certainly that does not need to be brought to the whole board. You can have 100 conversations and maybe not bring even one of those thoughts to the board. So any thoughts, ideas, conversations, statements that go on outside of a board meeting are not subject to every other board member being necessarily aware of what all of those are.
Any other discussion? Right. That brings us to our Board of Education Committee and Liaison reports. First is the Superintendent's Business Advisory Liaison. An email did go out today to reconvene the Business Advisory Council, so we're hoping that everybody will join us again. I didn't get a chance to talk to you, but will you be kind of leading those efforts this year?
I will be leading this start.
Wonderful, okay,
Looking
so
forward to it.
hopefully more to come. I think, what was the date September
12th,
12th, thank you.
7:30 in the morning, and we'll go from there.
So great, we look forward to getting back together with our business owners in the community. So that brings us to the Curriculum and Programming Committee and the Alumni Association. Mr. Fischel?
So we had an alumni meeting, and as previously stated, the Hall of Fame dinner is October 14th. It will be at the Holiday Inn at 306. It'll be $45 per person. The golf outing for next year is June 8th at the Painesville Country Club. And there were some other items discussed about buying t-shirts and that sort of thing, but that's all in the works, and any further updates I will bring as they occur. We had a curriculum meeting, and we discussed, what I brought to the table was how can we improve the scoring in the Riverside Local School District. We are approximately 71st in the state in economic rating, and we're approximately 277th in student performance rating. So my goal was to improve that. We want all of our students to do better. We want them to learn more, we want them to do better. We want them to grow up into adults that can go into, hopefully, our local economy and be able to perform better. What we do know is that how much education a person has directly relates to their earning capability in their lifetime. So my goal is to raise the performance level here, and I think we can do it. It's a team game. We need to put forth some strategies. What we discussed in our meeting were some of the new programs that are being put forth, and I think we need to do a little bit more than that, but that'll be for future discussion.
Okay, that brings us to Buildings and Grounds Operations Committee and Legislative Liaison.
Sure. So, overall, we talked about a number of things. A lot of it is annual type things, checking fire extinguishers and other safety things, sprinkler systems throughout the buildings that have them. So it's fairly minutia, but know that, and there's going to be a report a little bit later talking about how we were able to really get the buildings in shape over the summer for the start of classes later this month. And I think you'll all be impressed with how much work has actually been done, because a ton has been done. So we'll leave that for a little bit later, but it's some of the things we talked about were kind of in the weeds, but know that we are moving forward very, very well, and the buildings will be ready for classes when they begin. I think the most important thing that we've been discussing in Buildings and Grounds of recent, if you've been paying, tuned into what's going on at Riverside, one of the things that we need to do is figure out how to go forward with our facilities. Again, just going back to the process, what we did is we commissioned and signed a contract with a company called Bioloski, a local Cleveland company, and they have gone through and they're assessing our buildings, the legacy buildings, so Buckeye, Melridge, Lamouth, and the campus, and they're going through and they're assessing the different material needs that are there, and they're ultimately going to put together a list and prioritize them, and then the board will need to take that list and prioritize those things that need to be done, and we'll have a budget, thanks to Mr. Placco, and we'll try to match things up so that we get biggest bang for the taxpayer dollars to the improvement of the buildings. So the first draft report came in, and we actually had a little mini Buildings and Grounds meeting prior to this meeting to discuss it, and just making sure that we like the format, like the content, so that as they develop the reports for Melridge and the other campus and other buildings, that we're all on the same page and getting the information we want. And so more or less the basic assessment was that the report was pretty solid. There are some changes that we want, and we're going to actually talk about them next week, and we have a board meeting a week from today, and the primary topic will be discussion of the Buckeye report and some things going forward. But I think we are on a very methodical way we're performing a very methodical process to figure out how best to bring the buildings up to speed, what the most important needs are, and then we can apply the money that we have available, and then if that doesn't prove to be enough, which almost certainly will not, then we'll need to have discussions on how we might do other things as well in the future. But I am personally very excited, having been on the board now my 12th year. We've done a lot of things with our facilities, but I am very excited, the new buildings and maintaining things, but I'm very excited to be going down the path that's very methodical and I believe useful, that will allow us to come up with ultimately learning environments for our students and buildings that the public can be proud of. So, anyways, probably too long, but I am pretty excited about that process. So, and Mrs. Grassi, do you have anything?
I just want to add that I thought the reports that have been put together so far, at least for Buckeye, were thorough. They were well put together. They have some tweaks that they're going to make for us and some additional information, but I thought they were very well done. I think I'm extremely pleased with the results that we've gotten out of them, and so I'm looking forward to seeing what they have to say about the rest of the facilities.
And we look forward to bringing the rest of the board up to speed next week. So, and as far as Mr. Placco, have you heard anything from the budget side of the house or anything as far as what's going on down in Columbus and impacts to the budget that was passed at the end of July?
For state
The
funding.
school funding.
State funding,
Yeah, I was gonna give a little bit of an update.
Then we'll leave it there. Terrific. So we'll get a update there, and that's my report.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to Policy Committee, Booster Organization Liaison, Mrs. Harden.
So nothing on policy today. We do for boosters, we can expect to see most of them probably at the community tailgate coming up here. We do have a new RPTA president this year, Rachel Mercer, who's also the vice president of Buckeye. I had asked everyone just if they could try to send me their calendar events for the year, just so we have an idea what's going on. Buckeye was the only one that sent it so far, but they've got something planned, 4 to 5 things a month, every month throughout the entire year. So we'll see lots of those schools being really busy. I'm sure most of them have back to school, social and things like that, like our elementary schools always tend to have at the beginning. So we appreciate the parents stepping up, being willing to head our PTA for the entire district.
There's a lot of spirit we're out there.
Oh my gosh, right? Yeah,
So,
for sure. That's it.
that's it?
Yep.
All right. Brings us to our update from the superintendent.
Well, thank you. As Mr. Hack kind of alluded to, we're going to give an update as to what's been going on over the summer. And I can speak to all the great work that's been done over the summer, but I am not nearly as passionate as Mr. Arlesic, who during our executive rounds kind of really made the point. So I'm going to turn the first part over to him to talk about that. If I can.
Is it on?
That helps.
Wrong way.
And if I go the right way, it helps even more.
Okay, thank you. I want to thank my custodians and my maintenance department for taking the time out of their private lives to come here tonight and listen to me babble. They listen to me babble plenty enough during the regular work days. So summer cleaning, a lot happens, a lot that everybody does not see, and it's a monumental task, and believe it or not, it only happens in 10 weeks. We graduated our seniors June 2nd of 2023, and Monday, June 5th, we were at it. And as of last Friday, August 11th, we have completed all of our major tasks in the custodial area, and we are now just tweaking things so we are nice and tight, ready to go when the students do arrive on Thursday, and they are coming. There's no changing that whatsoever. So to give you a quick overview of what happens in every school, this is for every school that we have. We remove every single piece of furniture out of the classrooms, out of the offices, out of the clinics, out of the gymnasiums, out of the cafeterias. And I shouldn't say we, I should say they. Everything that comes out gets washed. Now, here at campus, we had an average of anywhere from 6 to 10 high school students that were working with us. We had a couple subs as well that have returned over the years and have become custodial or maintenance subs. So, Buckeye, for example, we would have 1, maybe 2 custodians max in the school. If somebody was sick or went on vacation, we would have 1. The other end of the spectrum, we would have campus where one day you would maybe have 6 custodians, or you would have upwards of 12 or 13 because of subs and students. Everything gets washed that comes out of every classroom, every room in the schools. After it's done, if there's carpeting, the carpeting gets cleaned with a floor machine. If there's a hard surface floor, it gets top scrubbed. Top scrubbing is we take a concentrated solution, we slop it on the floor, we let it sit for a little bit to penetrate the dirt and grime. They scrub it, they extract it with a extraction device, they rinse the floor, they let it dry. Once that is completed, the carpets are dried, everything, it all goes back in. Every piece of furniture that came out and got cleaned, it goes back in. Then it's onto the cafeterias, then it's onto the hallways, it's onto the bathrooms. If we clean a bathroom, the bathrooms are cleaned, the walls, the floors, the sinks, the toilets, the mirrors, everything that's in there is cleaned. And it's all put back together and dried up. So when that's done, it adds up to beautiful floors, ready for classes, cafeterias that are ready, has a fresh, clean look, and it's a job well done by all the individuals that I do have on my custodial staff. The next one. So, Parkside, 39 classrooms. Riverview, 39 classrooms. Buckeye, 22. Melridge, 23. Lamoth, 42. RHS, 33. John R., 40. Media Center, 2. 240 classrooms got completely empty. That's just classrooms. Desks. We had 22 at Parkside. You might say, why is that desk so low? Because we have a lot of tables. Riverview, same thing, 24. Buckeye, 35. Melridge, 34. Lamoth, 559. High School, 676. John R. W., 676. A total of 1,350 desks were cleaned by my custodial staff and our summer help. That's top, bottom, sideways, upside down, backwards, however you want to do it. Tables, 460, 472, 291, 290, 478, 287 for the high school, 728 for John R., and 78 in the media center. 4,121 tables were not only picked up and moved, but they were also cleaned. Picked up again and put back in place. Chairs, 1,151 for Parkside, 1,177 for Riverview, 593 for Buckeye, 607 for Melridge, 1,198 at Lamoth, 937 at the high school, 1,327 at John R., and 188 in the media center. 6,637 chairs were picked up, cleaned, moved, and moved back by my custodial staff. Bathrooms, 14 at Parkside, 14 at Riverview, 6 at Buckeye, 5 at Melridge, 9 at Lamouth, 12 at the high school, 13 at John R., and 1 in the media center. 74 bathrooms, endless amount of toilets, urinals, sinks, mirrors that get cleaned. Now remember, this doesn't end today. Every single day, every single night, that 6,000 chairs are getting touched and cleaned. Those 74 bathrooms are getting touched and cleaned. Those 1,300 desks, those 4,000 tables, those 240 classrooms on top of cafeterias, offices, floors. We haven't even mentioned the thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of square feet of floor space that is touched by the custodians in this district. I would bet my life that this staff that Riverside has in all of our district go toe-to-toe and beat any other district in this state, and I will die on that sword. That's how good they are. Stand up. Thank you. Now on to the main.
Wait, that doesn't count the burgers and hot dogs that Mr. Orlesek was calling.
That's only for graduation. Fried turkeys for Thanksgiving. Summer maintenance. We have a total of 6 maintenance individuals. That maintenance department has been short 1 man since October of last year. A total of 6 guys take care of 82 acres of grass a week. 82 acres that gets cut weekly. Not only do they cut the grass, they weed whip the grass. That's endless amount of linear feet of sidewalks, curbs that have to be done. Not only do they cut the grass, but they also pull the mowers in, change the oil, change the belts, pull the blades, sharpen the blades, put new blades on. That doesn't end until the snow flies. When the snow flies, 6 guys, if we're all here, move 3 acres of sidewalks when it snows. And they do that in 2.5 hours on a bad day. They rock it. Some of the other things we do in the summer, we replace 467 box filters. Box filters are the filters that have the filter medium in them. It has the cardboard around it. Anywhere that there's an air handler, it gets a box filter. We do that twice a year. Once now, we'll do that next in the spring. Keep the air quality good for our students, our teachers, and anybody else who's in the building. We also have 160 univents. University devices you see in some of the classrooms that are up against the wall. Some of them rattle, some of them shake, some of them whine. We have one that currently doesn't work, and I'm reminded of it daily. So we open those up. They get cleaned by custodians and maintenance. They get lubricated. They get oiled. There's a media filter in there. It comes in a big, giant, poofy roll. They have to cut that filter to replace the filter. They do over 800 feet of filter work in the classrooms for these univents, so we are giving the proper air into the classrooms. We tore down 15 boilers this year. Made sure that they were ready to go for the winter. On top of that, we have softball fields, band fields, baseball fields, football fields, lacrosse, soccer. They have to be cut in that 82 acres, but they also have to be laid out and lined. And that has to be done every week or every other week. Since we graduated June 2nd, we've completed over 200 work orders. Actually, it's 225 because I counted today. We did 25 since the Buildings and Grounds meeting. Not only that, as I touched on earlier, they service all the equipment. Weed whackers, chainsaws. As you can see below, they already have 6 snow blowers ready to go for the winter. They take care of all the trailers. These guys rock it, and they're short. Not to mention broken sinks, broken toilets, leaky roofs, broken doors, curbs that need to be fixed. everything and anything that needs to be done to make sure that these schools open up at 6:45 in the morning every day of the week so we can teach the students of our community, they get it done, along with the custodians. These four gentlemen right here, I would put up against any district in the state. They are knowledgeable, they are handy, they are smart, they are intelligent, and they know how to fix things with bubble gum, tape, glue, sticks, and rocks. I mean, again, they rock it. Unbelievable is what they do. Unbelievable what all these men and women do for me in this department. I cannot thank them enough. And I want to stand here today and thank each and every single one of you. From my heart, it means the world to me what you do. Not to mention the field house, the athletic fields. They do a tremendous job. They pull as much weight as every other department and every teacher in this department to make sure that our kids and our buildings are open every single day to make sure we can educate. And I thank them, and I thank everybody for listening to me babble.
I need to follow it, but that's a tough follow. So kind of continuing along that trend, I wanted to highlight a lot of what happened over the summer. Transportation, they've been working as well. We had 20 plus drivers and 4 bus aides provided transportation in summer school, extended school year services, as well as latchkey and athletic field trips. Mr. Andre also wants to provide a special mention to Jill Chapman and Cheryl Ross and Wendy Russell for the deep cleaning of the entire fleet of buses. They clean those out. That's a monumental task alone for that to happen, as well as they prepared all the buses for the State Highway Patrol inspections. And I called them this morning, and they all passed. So the buses are rolling. We have drivers in them, and we're ready to go. So we're really excited about that. So we can pick the students up, and they're going to come to Shiny Floors and clean buildings. And that's really exciting for us as well. Other work going on, Summer Latchkey. We run the Summer Latchkey program. It's a 10-week program from June 6th to August 11th. The average weekly attendance was 85 students. They took 3 field trips per week, and they were staffed by Mrs. Bielko and 15 additional saints who kind of run those kids during the summer as well. And finally, Mr. Renwick and his department, they've been really busy this summer as Mr. Renwick not only is transitioning into the district and out of Kirtland, so he's working with that, as well as doing a lot of upgrades. And as soon as we got a full-time technology person, we put him to work, and we put him to work fast. Technology is a passion of mine, so he's really kind of, I don't know if he's excited yet or kind of rethinking. But we've got camera updates throughout the district. Every building has a set of secure cameras, and so we can see, and for our safety purposes, we actually have cameras that we can look at, and there's no longer a fake camera there, they're all working. So we're excited about that in all of our buildings. Chromebook repair and deployment. When you're one-to-one, there's a whole lot of work with that. You gotta get those Chromebooks up, and kids break their Chromebooks and fix those and get those back out to students. 90 new notebooks for campus teachers, including docking stations. They're going to set those up to move away from desktops to go to a kind of a different way of teaching, a different style. We've major upgrades to the PA system at the campus and Lamouth, and he's finishing those today. I'm sure he's actually working on those tonight. He's kind of stressed out about that, so I know he's kind of working with that. Move to a new help desk and inventory system so we know what we have and what needs fixed, and so that it's more efficient along the way. Again, cleaning and just adjusting those classroom projectors. It's an annual thing. You have to go through and make sure to get the most life out of something, to keep it clean, knock the dust out, spray those dust out. And he did that all with his staff and 6 additional summer workers who I saw kind of every day when I was down in the media center. They were working on something, enrolling Chromebooks by hand. It was pretty. It's a monumental task. You wipe them, you have to enroll them into the system. It's a big task for them to do, and they got them in, and they're ready to go. And we actually handed out Chromebooks today at 8th grade new student orientation to our new students who are there, who are new to the district. So we're real happy for all the work they did. So, and a couple of highlights from the other end. We had our first, my first, that I ran a leadership retreat for our district leaders. We invited both principals and our department directors to meet at the Hive at Lakeland Community College. It was a great day. We really kind of sat and talked about the design thinking model, how to work from an empathy standpoint, and really look at a problem from that person's perspective and come up with some ideas. Mr. Carabine and Sedale ran a product at the end where we started a Rethink Community Kindness Day. So we didn't just skip it, we want to revamp it and have Community Kindness Day 2.0. And the ideas were so great that came out of it. We didn't come to consensus like we thought we were going to, because everybody had some ideas. We're going to prototype a few things this year and really kind of get that down. And that's kind of a TBD thing where they might actually become Community Kindness Days and a reach out program. And Mrs. Malacca, or Dr. Malacca, is actually looking for a bus. So that she
Know
can bring
anyone
up.
who wants to get rid of a boss, have
So-
them call me.
So we've got some.
No, I don't want to buy, I personally don't want a bus. I want a bus for the district, but it has to be seaworthy, so to speak. So it can't be one Gary's getting rid of. Because he only wants to get rid of ones that can't be driven.
I was just trying to make a connection there, sorry it didn't work.
So we are, so we learned, and the point of this design thinking is applying it to our strategic plan, to kind of tackle some of those pillars in the strategic plan, using the design thinking model, make sure that we incorporate everything that's in there. So great day of work, and really took a lot out of it, and also bringing everyone together to kind of get some different perspectives, and it was really powerful for everyone who's there. New teacher orientation and bus tour. Mr. Carabine kind of brought out his dad jokes and tortured 16 new staff members throughout his presentation on August 3rd. Overview of the district, including the strategic plan. Took a bus tour of the communities so they can see all of the schools, and a dive into the equipment, systems, and software they'll utilize. So when they come Monday, they'll be ready to roll and ready to kind of set up their lessons and get going. And we're working on the name. Coffee with Chris. We're kind of namesmithing. I'm not a fan of that name. Maybe Cappuccino with Ratina was more of a favorite, but we don't have a cappuccino machine. So we're working on kind of where we're going to go with this. But the point of it is we're going to schedule some coffee meetings at each school across the district between the months of September and October. It's a chance for me to get out and meet parents at the communities and community members. It's open. All the meetings start at 6. They're on different days throughout, really looking to kind of work on some outreach and kind of listen to people and encourage their feedback throughout the district throughout these 2 upcoming months.
That would be 6 p.m.
Yes,
In
it
case
is 6
people who
p.m.
drink coffee at 6 a.m. are confused.
And water is acceptable too, because if I drink coffee at 6 p.m., I won't go to sleep. So I know that's the issue. Finally, last night was Meet the Teens. It was an awesome night. Riverside Pride was evident throughout. The athletic department introduced all the fall athletes, coaches in grades 7 through 12. We did recognize last year's state qualifiers, that excellence that's there. And the night concluded with the preview performance from the regiment, and they are awesome again this year. Really excited for that 90s preview. And last but not least, the Gridiron Annual Tailgate is next Friday from 4 to 7 behind RHS. Please join us. It's right before we kick off the home opener against Aurora, so looking forward to seeing everybody and being there. And you can stock up on spiritware and everything else there, and bounce houses and everything else. That concludes my report.
So if I may, a little off script, Dr. Rotino came, ready to, hit the decks running. And Dr. Rotino, could you show people the soles of your shoes, please? Look at those, hit the decks running in yellow-soled shoes.
I think I may have pulled something right there.
Thanks for your first report.
Absolutely.
Congratulations.
Can I just interject and just maybe thank the unsung heroes of this district who do so much work behind the scenes that sometimes I don't think, I know when I sit in the buildings and grounds meetings, I'm just like, that's a lot of stuff. That's so much stuff. Can we put that at the table? Can we share that information? Because I don't think people see that enough, and I just want to let the public know that I think we have a fabulous staff of people that are working behind the scenes and things like food service and maintenance and custodial and tech and,
Transportation.
latchkey, all these departments that it's not the teaching and learning that's going on in the classrooms, but it's everything else that we are a business and we have got all these other departments that have to make that program successful. And you guys are on it. I'm so proud of all of you.
Here, here.
Thank you.
Sorry.
No, all right. Food service is next. So they'll present.
Very good.
All right, so that brings us to the treasurer's report and committee update. So finance Finance and Audit Personnel Committee and Strategic Plan Liaison, Mrs. Grassi, please.
Right, so I'm just gonna touch one thing on the strategic plan that I think part of what you're going to see going forward, we haven't had a formal update on the strategic plan, but I know that everything that Dr. Ortino is gonna talk about as he goes on, as meetings progress, we'll touch on the strategic plan, so we'll get updates pretty much every meeting. on how things
The
are-
communications report tonight is the start of that. So
Right.
those meetings, those special reports will kind of focus on specific areas of the strategic plan.
Right, and so everything that we're doing in all the committees and whatever, how do things touch our strategic plan and whatnot? So that's how we'll be moving forward as far as that goes. So we did have a finance meeting last week. Mr. Fisher was not present, so we talked about so many of the personnel updates that we have in our agenda this evening. We're having this meeting today so that we can get all those folks on board before the school year starts. So there was a lot of the hiring. There are still positions that are available. Please check our website. We're still looking for substitutes. There's all kinds of positions that we can still have that are open and available. We have a couple of things that Mr. Platko has now concluded with the exception of one, with the exception of Leroy, talking to all the trustees and all the different communities. So we have,
Next week.
okay, so that's Leroy, correct? Okay, so we've done that. We talked about the things that were on our board agenda. We've got our Medicaid settlement reports for 2021. Just some interesting things that in finance, we're doing some things with our gap conversion, which is our audit. We talked about our safety grant, some state budget updates, and some gifted funding changes that are taking place and how that's going to affect how we go forward and serve our gifted students. It was an informative meeting, and we'll have more updates on that with Mr. Platko. Nothing else.
Okay. That brings us to the treasurer's report.
Okay,
Sorry,
I'll
again.
go through a couple of items here, but before we go on to the slides, I just want to kind of give some quick updates. We'll talk about the state funding piece. As you know, the state approves the biennial budget for every 2 years, and they committed to continuing to phase in the Fair School Funding Plan, which is, it's a 6-year phase in, but they can't commit to 6 years, so the next 2 years, years 3 and 4. So at this point, this year's the 50% implementation of that plan. If you recall from prior discussions, we're on what's called a guarantee. So with the phase up from whatever the percent was, 34, something to 50, all the numbers changed in the details, but the total would stay the same. So that piece of the change is already reflected in our payment reports this August. In October is when OD will have the other changes to our funding implemented at that point. And so we'll see the true effect of that one. With the Legislative Services Commission, they got their projections, they showed a $499,000 increase in funding. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, and we haven't seen anything that, so we'll see what the October reports look like. Some of the changes that will affect us is the inputs of the formula is based on the cost of educating a child were based on 2018 figures. That's going to increase to 2022 figures. And then if you remember, we're at what's called the 5% funding floor. They have increased that to 10%. That probably won't result in any more funding because it's just going to give us it's going to lower our guarantee, put us back on more on a formula. So we'll just kind of see how that works. But it's again changing all the numbers to get to the same total. And then the other change, what we might see an increase is a change to transportation funding, which is outside of the guarantee. So that's probably where we're going to see an increase in funding. But until we see it in October, we won't truly know what that true impact is. But that's probably where we'll see the most change. Did that kind of answer your question? But it's all the numbers change, but the total is almost the same for right now. But it should see some changes.
No, that's perfect. Thank you.
I was also informed, so earlier this spring, I applied for a safety grant from the Attorney General's office. It's a new technology innovation grant, $20,000. In June, we received a payment in our Star Ohio account of $20,000. I reached out to the Attorney General's office and said, hey, I received this payment. Is it for this grant? And they called me and said, yeah, it's for this technology grant. Great. I'm like, what's the time frame and all that stuff, just to make sure that we stay compliant. And then last week, they reached out to me and said, oops, that wasn't for us. it was for the other Riverside local schools. So we were working on paying that back to the state and adjusting, because we crossed fiscal years, which makes the accounting a little more trickier, but now we're required to pay back. But it did tell me that there's a new safety grant coming out for $30,000 that's going to be announced soon. And basically, they're going to put us on the top of the list to make sure that we get taken care of, assuming we do an application for that.
So that you did a 50% improvement.
There you go. So I called the gentleman that's in charge of the grant, kind of gave him a little bit of, put us in a bad spot, because we got this money, we're using it towards a camera project. We were doing the camera project anyways, but we coded purchase orders and set up budgets and set up a new fund, all to just reverse all the accounting, and now we've cut each other back. So, first time in my career I've ever seen something like that happen. Another update to give, we purchased 2 special needs buses from Mass, and the board approved that purchase, I think, a month or 2 ago. We received those buses, and they've been titled our name. They were inspected today, they're good to go, and from what the mechanics have told me, is they're in very good shape, and said we got a pretty good deal on them, and that'll help us boost through until the buses we ordered months and months ago will come in, probably not expected until January. So it's kind of a stopgap, but those buses are in pretty good shape, and we'll continue to use them, obviously, beyond, just because it replaced some of the ones that are failing, that we have that are very old. On another update is I actually learned through Facebook, the Casement property over in Painesville Township, they finally approved the preliminary development plan on that 395 acres behind Riverview. And that's the first step in the process, I guess. As they go through phases, they'll actually approve the actual phases, but it looks like it's 1,775 residences between single-family homes, apartments, condos. So that's got past the next hurdle, and now they have to go through and do the traffic studies and stormwater studies and all that stuff, as they expect to work through that, and then each phase will get approved by the trustees. So we'll monitor that to see how that progresses. On the slides tonight, one of the goals that we're trying to do this year is to kind of talk a little bit more about our finances. And so each month, after we close the books, we prepare a monthly financial report. It gets emailed out to the board. It gets board approved each month on our finance consent agenda, and we post those on the treasurer page of the website. I keep usually the current fiscal year, 2 years of history on there. I just kind of wanted to hit some highlights from that report. Instead of going through it every month, every page, we kind of just hit some highlights. Being that it's the July report, it's the first month of fiscal year 2024, and my world, I'm in 2024 right now. And so July is the first year, so it's or the first month of the year, so there's not a whole lot of details in the report, but just kind of some highlights. Our total cash balance of all our funds right now is $46.9 million. The general fund makes up about $29.7 million of that, and I believe, on the next slide, yeah, on the next slide, the permanent improvement fund currently is just shy of $8 million for improvements. That number does not reflect the, there's actually a higher cash balance. We have that committed to those buses and some other camera projects and things like that, but we have not encumbered the vestibule project, which will reduce that by about $1.4 million. But that will increase as our settlements come in. Going through the reports, like the budgets, also called appropriations and revenue estimates, are not in the report yet. Those will come in September when we finalize appropriations and the board approves that. So the September report will have those amounts reflected, and then we can actually compare how we're progressing through the fiscal year on our budgets and our revenue estimates. So just some general fund statistics on the revenue. July's revenue is $9.7 million. $9 million of that is a property tax advance that we get in July. It was $500,000 less than last year's advance, but it's just an advance at this point. When we actually get the settlement, we'll see how we compare. We expect it to be similar to last year, if not an increase. And expenditures for July, $3.7 million. And just to highlight, interest revenue for the general fund was just shy of $85,000. We are currently receiving an interest rate through Star Ohio of 5.46%. And then our Red Tree investment account, which has longer-term investments, so it's a mix of investments that we have locked in at lower interest rates a year or two ago. Overall yield is 2.85%. When you combine those two, it's a 4.65% yield. So So that kind of includes just some highlights from our financial report. The full report is posted on our website. And then the last item I just had to point out, so on tonight's agenda, under the finance consent agenda, we have to appoint a delegate and an alternate for the USDA Capital Conference business meeting, which is in Columbus on November 13th at it's a Monday at 2:30 p.m. So we can fill that in now. Assuming there's 2 members that are going to the conference, we should fill that in before we go on the consent.
So are we volunteering or drawing straws?
What's that?
Are we drawing straws?
I definitely plan to be there. I don't know if anybody else is planning to be there.
I'm planning to be there.
I missed it.
I will probably go. It was so much fun last year. Do you want to do it again?
I'm just, what can I tell you? It's a lark, right? So,
I could do it. I could be the alternate if you want to do it. It doesn't matter to me.
okay, I'm not adverse to that, so that, okay.
So Mr. Al?
So that will be the delegate.
You guys made it easy.
I know, right?
Yeah, all right. Fabulous. Thank you.
I would imagine we get the report or whatever the platform agenda in late September.
I think it's early October, but at the October meeting, when we get it, we'll review it. And we'll probably do the same process we did last year, where you had like a Google sheet that we'll put together these items changing and what kind of fill in, and then anything that we want to vote on separately. And in October, we can go through that process.
It makes attending that meeting and being the delegate a lot easier when you know
The will of
what
the
I'm
board.
voting, what you're voting on, and how you're supposed to vote. So.
Right.
And the great raise your hand vote process that you go through.
Right, right,
So,
right.
yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to public participation. Anyone wishing to address the Board of Education will be recognized by the board president. Speakers are requested to identify themselves and their topic. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Any public participation? Yes.
Denise Brewster, and I'm a community member. And I just wanted to comment on how impressive the survey was. But I think there's a lot of people out there like me and other community members who are voters and taxpayers who would love to have an opportunity, maybe not to fill out that type of survey, but to provide input. And so if there's some way to do that, since we all get the newsletter, maybe to direct us to where we could do that. Not everybody's techie, but I know that, you know, they want to be involved and have some input. So just a suggestion.
Thank you.
That's a good idea. I mean, that's again something that even not everyone's techie, but you could throw a QR code on there for community members to be able to scan from their phones to a survey or something like that, just to be able to reach community as a whole, like the non-parents that aren't on the website to that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When's the next newsletter go? When's the next pipeline go out?
Pipeline just went out.
Yeah, that's true.
In mailboxes a couple weeks ago. The quality profile will be the next mailing, so maybe we can throw something in there. Maybe not necessarily doesn't have to be a survey, just be like a feedback type thing, opportunity. Send us a letter, send us an email.
Yeah, thank you. That'd be good.
Any other public participation? Yes.
John Music, Painesville Township. I just want to give my opinions on a few things. First of all, I want to thank Buildings and Grounds and Transportation Job for doing an excellent job for here. I still remember my bus drivers, Mr. Gridley and Elmer Hansowski. Of course, the first 6 years we had walks. I lived behind Menor Avenue, not Haddon, Menor Avenue. And so I want to thank the ladies and gentlemen, both those departments for what they do. And secondly, I want to say, in my opinion, I think that Riverside, I'm a graduate, all 12 years, everything, born and raised in the township, are failing the students, the parents, and the taxpayers. A lot of eyes and ears were opened up with remote learning, and I'm hearing people that are involved at the national level going all throughout the country speaking, and I don't like what they're saying. And it all filters down to each and every district, trust me. So the thing about it is, I think as board members, it is your job to make sure that our students get the best education. And I say education, I'm talking about basic academics, reading, writing, arithmetic, nothing else. Because just like, for instance, I was at this one place, and there's a woman, she was at the register, at the teller's office, and she said, somebody said, $1.90 and another 20 cents, and she stood there. $1.90 and another 20 cents? She stood there, and her boss was saying, it's $2.10. So when I got up there, I said, where'd you go to school at? She said, Riverside. We didn't spend a lot of time with math. And I said, well, I went to Riverside, and I went on and talked to her. But anyhow, beside the point, I think that Riverside, and the only reason I'm talking about Riverside is this is the one's in my taxing district, we're failing the students, the parents, and the taxpayers. And I think the 5 of you need to do a better job, be good stewards of our taxpayer dollars. And as you know, a steward is a person who is responsible for something that isn't theirs. It's the taxpayer dollars. And I hope that things improve. I don't see it. I've heard a lot of talk. But, you know, like I say, you have talkers and you have doers. And just like at all levels that I speak at, federal, state, and county and township, you know, transparency, oversight, and accountability. If you don't do your job, we used to get a performance report every year. And if you didn't do it, there was accountability. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hi, Beverly Shalero, Concord Township. So again, I do want to recognize the custodial crews that are behind the scenes, and to be honest with you, I am surprised at some of the things that we don't realize that they're doing. And I will make sure that the people in my community that I talk to, that I express that to them and encourage them to watch the meeting that we're in this evening. Besides that, I would like to parrot what Mr. Muzak did have to say, and would like to say that the people in the community should take time to go to the Ohio Department of Education and look at the proficiency scores of the Riverside District, and I think they will be a little surprised if they take time to move around that application down there and take a look at some of the different numbers. The scores are not good, and like John had to say, we need to have something in place that can help the kids move ahead and get where they need to be when they get out of school. One of the things I did recognize down there was that, for example, if a class, say of the third graders or fourth graders, if there's a percentage of like 65% of them that can read, 100% of them are moved on to the following year. I don't know how they're ever going to catch up, okay, because they're not getting the concepts and the building blocks in the beginning. And so when they're moved ahead, they're only going to be further behind. It makes it much more difficult. I mean, I don't know what all the solutions are to that, but to me, I would think, hey, move them ahead for the school year of what they did learn and they're doing well, and keep them back on the subjects that they haven't really qualified to move ahead for. So there's a lot that can be done, and I'm hoping that collectively, as a community, everybody can work together. Students, parents, the school board, the administration, to help these kids get where they really need to be.
Thank you. Any other public participation? Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Leo. I'm part of Boy Scout Troop 62, and I'm just here to listen in on this and give like different points of view on a subject. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Leo.
18 seconds. You're the best.
He actually asked me a lot of tough questions at Boy Scouts, so.
Oh,
Any other public participants?
I'm gonna come down here so you can hear me better. I've been told that you can't hear me when I'm back here, so I'm gonna come here. Yeah. So that way I can be a little bit closer, so that way, I was told last time you guys couldn't all hear me. So Justin Kanegi, I actually have children in this district. I have a 10th grader, upcoming 10th grader, and I have a 5th grader. First, I'd like to address the board and remind you all, ever so gently, that this is a public school, as much as a couple of you don't want to entertain that. This is a school for every child, a child that is of color, a child from every economic background, a child that is gay, of every sex, of every entity. We have to be there and represent every one of them. Mr. Fischel, you're on record saying that you like tangible things. I presented tangible evidence to all of you in January. Very thick evidence in January showing how children of color deserve to be represented, and I have not received not one thing from you since then. I saw you in public with my very gay friend recently, one that you tried to pursue your views on, yet you said nothing to me. So I'm still waiting for a response when you very publicly said you like tangible things and I gave you evidence. You are also on record very many times saying that you like to rely on your experts. And every meeting that I come here or listen to you, you do not rely on your experts. Neither do you, Mr. Hack. I also have emailed to the board basically to say, tell me you're racist without saying you're racist, and has said that the ACLU needs to be involved at this time. I thank Ms. Harden for being the only one to actually say that they received my email. Talking about scores. So first and foremost, being the only person in this room that has children in this that has spoken, my son and daughter's scores are beautiful. The elementary school scores are really high. So I have no complaints on the scores. But being a person who is privileged enough to have traveled throughout other countries, you can throw scores out the book. We as a country are far behind because we rely on scores, and scores do not matter. So let's just call it what it is. But Mr. Hack, you're the representative for the U.S. or for our state. You should be announcing that starting in October, it is going to be easier for parents to homeschool. So if the minority of parents in your district that have a problem with this district, they can homeschool much easier. It is about to be easier, so I don't know why you're not announcing this. Starting this October, for anybody that doesn't like what Riverside's doing, it's going to be easier for parents to homeschool. So if you don't like you want to push your religious agenda, if you want to push your theology, if you don't like that there are children of color here and there's such bad influences, homeschool your kids. Riverside is a great district, and it should be representing all children, not just the minority few that are sitting at this desk. So, if you're running, you want to be on the board, you should have children in this district to know what is happening in this district. My time is up, and I thank you so much.
Any other public participation? All right, thank you. That brings us to the consent agendas. The first one is consent agenda for finance and audit.
Sure, we have a motion to approve the items listed on the finance and audit consent agenda as recommended by the treasurer, items A through G. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. I just want to recognize the donations, as we always do, of $500 from SSC Controls Company to the RAVE program for our district. Do we have any other discussion? All right, can we call the roll?
Tom Heck,
Aye?
Jennifer Harden,
Aye.
Lori Kniske,
Aye.
Linda Grassi,
Aye.
Scott Fishel.
Aye.
Motion carried. That brings us to the consent agenda for personnel.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the items listed on the personnel consent agenda as recommended by the superintendent, items A through G. Can I have a second?
Second?
Mr. Hack? Is there any discussion on these items? All right, hearing none, can we call the roll, please?
Jennifer Harden,
Aye.
Lori Kniske,
Aye.
Linda Grassi,
Aye.
Scott Fishel,
Aye.
Tom Heck.
Aye.
Motion carried. That brings us to our consent agenda for curriculum and programming.
Make a motion to approve the item listed on the curriculum and programming consent agenda as recommended by the superintendent, item A. Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Can you call the roll?
Lori Kniske,
Aye.
Linda Grassi,
Aye.
Scott Fishel,
Aye.
Tom Heck,
Aye?
Jennifer Harden.
Aye.
Motion carried. And that brings us to buildings and grounds.
Motion to approve the item listed on the Buildings and Grounds consent agenda as recommended by the superintendent, that's item A. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you very much. Any discussion? All right, hearing none, can you call the roll, please?
Belinda Grassi,
Aye.
Scott Fishel,
Aye.
Tom Heck,
Aye?
Jennifer Harden,
Aye.
Lori Kniske.
Aye. Motion carried. That brings us to our Board of Education update.
I just want to make a point to remind everyone that we just approved the course of study for mathematics by a unanimous vote of this board. And so if there comes a point in time at any other time where we are criticized for the course of study that we provide, we have all just approved it unanimously. I just wanted to bring that to the attention of the public. That was number one. And number two, come to tailgate because it's super cool.
I think there's quite a few things going on, right? So Thursday's the first day of school.
Thursday's the first day of school. Actually, Monday teachers return. Tuesday we have class night kickoff with fresh results. Thursday's the first day of school. Friday is the home football game.
And I think Saturday's a big cross country.
Saturday's a huge cross country meet here. So
Kindergarten
it's-
orientation.
It's gonna be
Oh,
a
yeah,
whirlwind.
kindergarten
I'm
orientation.
so excited.
Our Riverside students started online already this week. Some of our
That's why
Riverside
Mr.
students.
Arlesnik was at this meeting and not next week's.
Yeah.
I'll be here.
Yeah.
I'll just be dribbling and drooling.
And I'm sure there's a ton more going on, but those are some
We
of
have,
those
it's,
big
August is,
things going
it's a
on.
busy month, August and September.
Yes.
I just wanted to thank Mr. Arlesnik though too for like your incredibly passionate description of everything you did, but especially for the way that you spoke of your employees. They're very lucky also to have you and have someone that feels that passionately about them and the work that they do. We appreciate you very much.
I would like to, it's not just Mr. Arlesnik, every leader in our district is passionate about the people who work for them and work with them on a daily basis. And it's amazing to see. And that was evident at that retreat that we saw, that they were all, they just came out and would work. And it's a great place to be. There's great things coming.
It's interesting to me that we have such a long-standing group of district administrators and department heads. I mean, it is
Yeah.
weird. Like these people have been here forever, right?
Thanks.
Now the boys didn't wear and tear. You look great.
Apparently.
But people have grown with this district. Like, I just remember, like our latchkey director was working in the clinic when my kids were in kindergarten.
Yep.
So, and they're graduated and working, right? So it's weird. People stay here. It's not weird, because we're so awesome, but that's why it's not weird. But
But-
it's unusual.
Let me, since we're all saying similar things, I'm gonna throw my 2 cents in as well. But it is, we are an educational institution, that's our primary focus, but it really takes a team of people across different departments and sections and whatever to make it all work. And we really are blessed to have such a great staff that handles the buildings and the maintenance. And we're going to hear more in future meetings as well about other departments that are integral to making it all happen. But it is truly a team effort, and we're extremely fortunate to have that combination of goodness to start us out in the education process. So it is really terrific.
You ever said?
It's like a big team hug, I don't know.
Okay, let's go.
Okay. All right. So that brings us, we're going to make a motion to adjourn to executive session. Be it resolved that the Riverside Local School District Board of Education hereby adjourns to executive session at 8:19 p.m. to discuss personnel matters relating to the employment of public officials, discipline, and investigation of charges and complaints in the Riverside Local School District Board of Education hereby designates all matters discussed in this executive session as strictly confidential and finds that this designation is warranted because of the status of this matter and the need to preserve the confidentiality to properly conduct the business of this Board of Education. Can I get a second?
A second.
Thank you, Ms. Harden. Call the roll, please.
Scott Fishel,
Aye.
Tom Heck,
Aye?
Jennifer Harden,
Aye.
Lori Kniske,
Aye.
Belinda Grassi.
Aye. Motion carried.